The village lay isolated amidst towering mountains, at the edge of a wild forest that whispered secrets. Othman, a boy with dreaming eyes, saw a world of forgotten adventures within its depths. One day he found a small black creature, its eyes lost from hunger and fear. It wasn't an ordinary pup, but a small wolf, black as coal, lost and perhaps abandoned by its pack. Othman took him to his warm home, far from the wary eyes of villagers who feared wolves. He fed him with his small hands, nurturing his spirit with love and kindness. He named him Layl, after his dark coat and mysterious charm. Layl grew with lightning speed, becoming Othman's companion in his secret adventures at the forest's edge. They ran among the trees, sharing the silent secrets of nature, forging a friendship unknown to humans. With each passing year, Layl grew in strength and ferocity, and Othman in wisdom and courage. They became fearless young men, facing the forest's challenges together. Layl's piercing eyes spotted dangers, and Othman's vigilance protected them from hunters' traps. The villagers knew nothing of this friendship, thinking Othman merely a brave shepherd. Layl, meanwhile, hid in the shadows, revealing himself only to Othman. Their dual identity was a secret binding two worlds, the quiet human world and the wild, untamed wilderness. One stormy night, the village was attacked by strange creatures from the forest depths. They were massive, violent beings, aiming to destroy everything. The villagers were unprepared for this new evil, consumed by fear and panic. Othman was the first to sense the danger, but he was not alone. Layl emerged from the darkness, his eyes burning like embers, his roar tearing through the silent night. He was no longer a frightened wolf, but a legendary guardian defending his friend and his threatened village. They stood together, the young man and the wolf, facing the evil creatures with rare courage. Othman shot his arrows with deadly precision, and Layl tore his enemies with claws and teeth. It was a legendary battle, their friendship the strongest weapon against evil. After a long night of fighting, they triumphed over the creatures, but the village was damaged. Layl revealed himself to the villagers, who saw him as a terrifying beast. They pointed at him in fear, demanding Othman expel or kill him. Othman vehemently refused, defending his loyal friend. He realized Layl's place was not among humans who couldn't understand his nature. He looked into Layl's eyes and saw a deep desire to find his true family. They decided to embark on a new adventure. Othman and Layl left the village under the cover of darkness, heading toward the depths of the wild forest where legends dwell. The journey was arduous, filled with danger and bone-chilling cold, but their hearts burned with an unyielding resolve, searching for the scent of the lost pack. For weeks they lived off the land, sleeping in caves and sheltering each other from storms. Othman learned the language of the forest, and Layl became his guide and bodyguard at every step. A spiritual bond grew between them, allowing them to understand each other without speaking a single word. One dawn they reached a deep canyon, when suddenly a powerful howl echoed through the horizon, shaking the very air. Layl's fur stood on end, and his eyes flickered with a strange tremor. He recognized that sound. It was the call of the Black Pack, his lost family. As they approached, massive wolves emerged from the mist, black as pieces of moving night. The pack was majestic, led by a giant alpha wolf with scars telling stories of endless battles. Layl stopped in his tracks, greeting his family with both submission and strength. But the great Alpha did not welcome them. Instead, he growled fiercely at the sight of the human beside Layl. The law of the forest forbade mingling with humans, and the leader saw Othman's presence as a desecration of the Pact's sacred land. He snarled, commanding Layl to abandon his friend or leave forever. Layl refused to obey, standing firmly beside Othman, showing his readiness to fight his own family for his friend. The pack was astonished by this rare loyalty. How could a wolf prefer a human over his own blood? A trial fight broke out between Layl and a pack warrior to prove his strength. Layl showed unparalleled ferocity, but he did not kill his opponent. Instead, he showed mercy learned from Othman. He fought with a style combining wolf instinct and human intelligence. The great Alpha was moved by what he saw, but his pride prevented him from accepting them. At that moment, a group of massive mountain hyenas, the pack's sworn enemies, attacked, trying to exploit their distraction. The assault was sudden and violent. Soon the Alpha leader found himself surrounded by 3 predatory hyenas. The tide began to turn in favor of the enemies. Othman and Layl didn't hesitate for a second, launching themselves like arrows into battle to save the Alpha. Othman shot arrows that blinded the hyenas, while Layl lunged with his powerful jaws at their throats. Their harmony in combat was breathtaking, like one soul in 2 bodies. Thanks to their heroic intervention, the hyenas retreated to the mountains, and the Alpha and the pack were saved from certain doom. Silence fell over the valley, and the Alpha looked at Othman in awe, then lowered his head in respect. He saw that not all humans are enemies. The great leader, Sila, stepped toward Othman, and in his eyes was not a spark of anger, but a look of gratitude. The leader placed his paw on the ground before the young man, a legendary sign meaning, "You are now one of us." The valley erupted with the joyful howling of the rest of the pack, welcoming Layl and Othman into their den. Sila apologized to Layl before everyone, admitting that the loyalty he showed to his human friend is the highest form of strength. Layl was no longer just a lost wolf, but the bridge of peace between the forest and the human world. It was decided that Othman would live in a wooden cabin protected by the pack in the heart of the forbidden territory. Years passed, and Othman became the sage of the forest, sought by animals and packs to settle disputes. Layl was always by his side, his black fur shining under the moonlight, like a piece of eternal night. They grew old together, but the spirit of youth and loyalty kept beating in their hearts as if it were the first day. Their stories began to reach the nearby village, but this time they weren't tales of fear, but legends of the wolf boy who protects the forest. Hunters stopped entering the area out of respect for Othman and awe of Layl. The wild forest became a place of peace, where humans and animals coexisted in stunning balance. During a harsh winter, Othman fell gravely ill, confined to his bed in the cabin. Layl never left him for a moment, warming him with his massive body and bringing medicinal herbs whose benefits he learned from observing nature. The wolf's loyalty was the only medicine that kept Othman alive. When Othman recovered, he went out with Layl to the highest mountain peak to thank nature for this blessing. They looked at the horizon, where heaven meets earth, and realized their journey was no coincidence. They were destined for each other to change the history of the forest and the village forever. Layl fathered small pups, and Othman was the one who cared for them alongside their mother, starting the cycle anew. The small pups learned that humans are not enemies, and the village children learned that wolves are not monsters. The lineage continued, and with it, the pact of loyalty that began with a crust of bread on a cold night. On moonlit nights, the villagers would come out onto their balconies to hear the symphony of peace. It wasn't a frightening howl, but a rhythmic melody shared by the pack's wolves with the notes of Othman's flute. The music filled the valleys, declaring that love is stronger than fear, and friendship transcends boundaries. When the hour came for Othman to depart, he died peacefully in his cabin, surrounded by Layl and the entire pack. Layl did not grieve in despair. Instead, he stood atop his friend's cabin and let out the longest and most beautiful howl in the forest's history. It was a farewell to a hero and a welcome to a spirit that would always guard the trees. Layl lived a few years more, then departed to join his friend, buried together under the great oak tree that witnessed their first meeting. Today, travelers still tell the story of the boy and the black wolf and how their loyalty turned the wild forest into a paradise of lasting peace.